Hello all, welcome back to for our bone reading this month. We're going to be doing the reading for April. I hope everyone's doing well. It's right now been a little stormy here where I am. We need the water, which is good. Although it means allergies are going to be up for the next few days. So let's go ahead and get the ancestors and the spirits in and see what they have to say for the month of April, as we are dealing with so much in the world right now. All right, here we go. And we're going to start off with the fact that our dice came up on the 8th house. And the 8th house involves intimacy, sex, bonding, shared money, and property. What we got from the Adinkra was the Aya card. And this one is a card representing endurance, independence, defiance against difficulty, hardness, perseverance, and resourcefulness. So again, keep that in mind about the endurance, the independence, the defiance against hardship, the perseverance and resourcefulness when it comes to the subjects of intimacy, when it comes to the subjects of sex, when it comes to the concept of how are we bonding with people, let alone how are we dealing with shared money and property. So when we look at the bones themselves, as you can see, we've got sort of almost a triangular shape here. It's a very off one. So some things are not as connected as they could be. And notice we've got a much tighter grouping. So this one here is work. This one is going to be home. This one is family. So the work bone is connected here and is in direct contact with the quartz piece, which is about memory. It's the solidity, but it's a chance to pick it up and turn it and look at what's captured inside. Equally, it's also what does it do to help provide us with clarity. Because notice as my finger is passing behind the back of this, it ends up being magnified. So this is the aspects of what can be seen as a lens. And we need to be looking at nuance. Fundamentally, no situation that is coming up is ever going to be solidly just some simple thing. We have to look at nuance. Nuance is important because it gives context, it gives flavor, and there's a lot of that going on in the world right now that we are not keeping in mind some of the greater contexts that are playing off. As I'm recording this, this is the day after the Oscars, and pretty much there's plenty of fodder going on the various internet social medias, and I'm not going to get involved in it. All I can say is that there's a lot of nuances involved in this that we need to keep in mind before we jump and sit onto one side or the other. And that's something we're going to find in our work. You keep in mind always what is the nuances of the situation you are involved in, both in what you're doing to pay the bills, as well as what you're doing as your life purpose work. So what is the nuance in what you're creating? What is the nuance in what you're bringing to the world? How is that an intimate process? How is it even a sexual process? How is it a process that is about binding and connecting people together? And how does it have an impact on the creation, the use, and the distribution of money and property? That we can have that shows the way that we are enduring, that we are independent, that we are defying against the hardships and persevering and showing our resourcefulness as we are dealing with, again, what the world is throwing at us. And that's going to be very big in this next month of April. How are you being resourceful, perseverant, defiant, and enduring with your work? Now over here, home, which you see is also connected with one of the rib bones, which brings us also over here too. So this says that what we're doing with work is also going to be very much connected with our home in a very intimate way of both providing inspiration but also providing thought. This too brings in that standpoint of how are we looking at the situation around our home and around our lives with nuance and also inspiration. That our home is also providing a place where we are feeling a place that we can be safe, vulnerable, have the intimacy that we need, not just with those that we share the home with, but with the home itself. I don't think we can. There's many ways I can put sex into this, but pretty much the aspect of bonding. I mean, think about it. Do you ever feel like the place you're living or the place that you spend the greatest amount of time is your home? How is it a place that represents your endurance, your independence, your defiance again and in difficulties against hardness, your perseverance and your resourcefulness? It's all things to be aware of and contemplative of. So when we move down here to family, and I'd also put this as social, we're on top of the shell, and we're turned inward. And again, this is internal work. So matched also with the fact we've also got proximity to the quartz piece. It's again, how are you looking at things? How are you seeing the nuances, which never makes anything purely black and white. And when we look at it just purely from a black and white standpoint, it is going to miss the details about why this intimacy is happening, why this intimacy is coming into being, how this intimacy may even be falling apart, how this bond was created and how this bond is being maintained, how this bond is falling apart, how it is not enduring. And that's what we want it to do. We want to endure from a place that is healthy. As I spoke with a few weeks ago, that were having their problems and they're talking about their differences. And I asked, okay, so you're telling me all about your differences, but you haven't told me anything or even a suggestion of what you guys have as being similarities. And if you're going to build anything, you're going to build from the similarities, not from the differences. So we've got to be able to look into that. And that's also taking an internal work and an internal look at our sense of endurance, our sense of persevering, our resources, how they play out in our intimate relationships, how they play out in our bonding and vulnerability we express when we are, say, having sex, how we have put that energy or even supplemented that energy in the places of money and property. So there's a standpoint that we may be confronted with choices about money and property that are we operating out of a sentimental way that is going to build, or we're acting out of a sentimental way that can be destructive. So we've got to be conscious and look at the nuances around that. Choices that were made to buy or acquire things were made during a different time and place than where we are now, especially if it's inherited items. So we want to be able to keep that in mind. And that's also got some inspiration, and very much it's key to have balance and recognize the thoughts that we're having. As we come further down, you notice we have the broken rib bone, and that is also focused towards our work bone as well. So, but it's at a distance. So there may be some problems you're going to be able to see at a distance. And it's important to recognize and process them so that those things don't come closer, that you're ready for them if they do. So just be conscious of where are some of those pitfalls. And because of the nature of, the intimacy, the sexuality, the bonding, it's very easy for those passions to get lost and get driven in a way that can become destructive. And we don't want constructive, we want constructive. So as we move down here, we get to the copper piece, which is again our conduit and transmitter of spirit, which is also, as you can see, right now under one of the rib bones. So there's a lot of, again, thinking and analytical elements going on. Spirit is watching, spirit is moving, spirit is basically, you've got some smaller groups going through and assessing the data of what they want to see happen with the world and with you. Are you holding on to that and working from that place of your life purpose that's here? Are you operating in such a way with your family, in both intimate as well as social, with a place that you are actually assessing and learning so that you can make different choices? Because again, if the universe and spirit does not feel you are making the choices that you need to, they will set things up so that you have to make that choice, or they will make the choice for you. So make the choice from a place that is about endurance, that is about independence, that is about defying against hardship, that is about perseverance and resourcefulness. But again, that is building constructively, not destructively. And we bring that same aspect to the intimacy, the sex, the bonding, the sharing of money and properties. How is it building us for the better and the care of all? So that's what I can say for you today for the month of April. Keep all of these things in mind as you move through the month of April, because there's still a lot of weather coming our way. Ashe, and be well.